So my name is Tina Meyer. On December 15th, 2015, my son Cody, who lived at home, he's 23, got up and went to work. And normal everyday kind of a thing. A couple of days before, he's 120 pounds soaking wet, really small, slight kid. He had gone out because he works as a flagger and it was winter and he's cold all the time. He went out and got one of those head to toe neon yellow heat suits so he could stay warm while he was working. It was his first day wearing this neon yellow, neon green suit even. And he went to work like normal, no big deal. About 10:30 that morning, we got a phone call from his work that he had been rushed to Harborview. He'd been hit by a car. You know, we know flaggers take a risk, but the problem was not him not paying attention to what was going on. It's because the driver picked up their phone and looked at their phone. And that slight of a second distraction, he ran down my son. When my husband and I got to Harborview, my son had a massive knot on his forehead where his face had hit the top of a Jeep. His body had put a huge dent in the hood of the Jeep. He was on a ventilator. He couldn't breathe on his own. They said that his left leg had been snapped in half below the knee from the bumper of the Jeep. He had brain injury, but they wouldn't know to the extent of the brain injury until he came to. At the time, he was in a drug-induced coma. So on the third day, the doctors decided that they would take him off the ventilator and see how he did. When they took him off the ventilator, he started just breathing like he'd never taken big breaths before. They immediately could tell something was wrong and immediately put him back into a drug-induced coma and back onto the ventilator. I've always been with my boys for everything. Never would I leave them in a hospital. On the 26th day at Harborview, we were getting ready to go home. And every day I would tell Cody, give me a kiss goodbye. And I never got a kiss goodbye. But on the 26th day, he gave me a kiss. I just melted. That's the first purposeful movement he had since he'd been struck. My husband didn't think I'd go home that day, but I did. And he started progressing. He started getting better. The driver that hit Cody, I know he didn't get up that day and say, oh, look at the calendar. Today's the day I'm going to run somebody over. I know he didn't do it on purpose. I know it was an accident. But it was his carelessness of hearing his phone go off, picking up that phone, and looking at it. That carelessness is what caused all of the pain in our family. He got better. They transferred him to Josephine Sunset Rehabilitation Center on his brother's birthday, May 23rd. On the 24th of May, I went down and spent the day. They spent a full day doing rehab with him to evaluate where he was at, how things were going. And, there was a lot more he could do that he had been doing that we were now aware of and stuff. And that was fabulous, and that night at about 7:25, I got a phone call that Cody was in full cardiac arrest. And I had been an EMT with the fire district. I knew my son was not in that room anymore. After doing CPR for that amount of time, my husband and I knew our son's not there anymore. They were able to resuscitate him, and he was transferred to Providence in Everett. my husband and I had to tell them to shut the machines off, stopping my son's life. Cody and I had talked about it several times, and I knew he didn't want to live like that. All because somebody picked up a cell phone. He still got a very slight sentence, only 90 days in jail for taking my son's life. He has 3 children. I still have 1 less. If I could say anything to people, just you have to learn to ignore your phone when you're driving. And if you can't, get it out of your reach 100%, because it's not worth putting your family through this. My family's not the only family that suffered. His family suffered a lot too. One less story of loss like mine. Remember me next time you're texting and driving.